Okay, the cast of this movie is not Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, Millie Bobby Brown, Charles Dance, and all these other actors and actresses. No, they're not the stars of this. They don't get top billing. You want to know who the real stars are? It's Godzilla and all these other monsters. Because, let's be honest here for one moment, alright? This is who you're here to see, okay? Godzilla fighting some monsters. Here's the plot summary. Godzilla is fighting some monsters. Okay, yes, there's your human drama and cliche, military, whatever. But for the most part, you're just here to see Godzilla fight some monsters, alright? Now, I really did not like the 2014 Godzilla movie at all, and it's not because there was very little Godzilla action in it. No, for one, I just thought it was a mostly forgettable film and had nothing really memorable in it except for the let them fight line and Godzilla killing the female Muto by using its head as a barf bag. I thought that was really cool. But for the most part, I thought it was an overall boring experience, and the only other thing that I even liked about it was Bryan Cranston's terrific performance in the beginning. But because of how little he was actually in the film, it just wasn't enough to save it. I'm not defending the Roland Emmerich 1998 Godzilla film because that's also a pile of hot garbage, but at least that one tried to do something different. They failed though, but still they tried. The 2014 one just kind of played it too safe for the most part. Like, we can't have Godzilla fight one of his popular enemies, so they had to make up, two generic looking black and red monsters, because, black and red is evil. Now, to be completely honest, I was never really much of a big Godzilla fan in the first place. Like, he was never part of my childhood. Like, I never grew up watching his movies. And frankly, I always kind of thought his design was pretty stupid. Like, to me, he just looked like a giant fat iguana with a cat face. And that never really changed throughout most of his variations. And as far as stories about giant monsters destroying cities go, Godzilla was about as basic as you can get, for the most part. I understand he's very iconic and an allegory for the atomic bomb, but for me, I just have no love for him whatsoever. Alright? Like, hey, it's great if you do, but I can only speak for myself. Now, I will say this film does have a lot of significant improvements over the first one, though it does drag in the middle for a bit. For the most part, it is better paced and just gets to the point faster. It doesn't annoyingly cock tease you with action scenes like the first one did, in which, remember, there was like a ton of build up, but it would just skip the payoff and all you would get is someone watching the aftermath of it on a screen or whatever. Man, what a terrible just filmmaking decision in general. Like what moron thought that was a good idea? Like, doesn't a studio want to fill these big budget Hollywood films with as much action as possible to appeal to all the people who are gonna watch it anyway? I mean, come on, that's what we're here to see. All right. Anyway, going back to this film, some of the other improvements it makes are okay. Besides the action being shown, I really can't think of anything else this film does particularly better. And while I do prefer this over the first movie, it still does come with its own share of problems, believe me. Like where do we even begin? Like, it's filled with a lot of annoying cliches and overused things from other better stories. Like, there's like a scene in which we find out Vera Farmiga's character, her motivation is the whole, I'm not destroying humanity, I'm saving it. And I was like, Jesus, this again. Like, this needs to stop, alright? The whole humanity is evil because it's harming the earth and we're overpopulating and we don't have enough resources to go around. Like, that motivation, it feels like a parody at this point, and it's so goofy it doesn't fit with the rest of the tone the film's trying to go for. And speaking of the tone, it's incredibly inconsistent throughout the film. Like, it treats all these monster attacks in the beginning like 9/11, which makes sense. Like, after all, if this were to happen in real life, we would probably do the same thing. But then the movie gets like really goofy at times, especially in the dialogue. And my God, does the dialogue in this get bad at times? Like there's a scene in which a guy says, "Oh my God," and then someone else says, "Zilla." I was like, really? This is where we're at right now? Really? And speaking of inconsistent dialogue, one of the characters says the word fuck, but like 10 seconds later, someone else says, "Holy shit!" But like, it does that thing where like it cuts right before they can finish saying the word shit. I was like, why does this movie feel the need to censor the cursing when it just dropped the F bomb earlier? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. And there's this other moment that tries to be emotional, but it's so corny that it fails on just about every level. In which this like scene where Ken Watanabe has to detonate a nuke next to Godzilla to heal him. I don't know how that works, but whatever. For one, he says, "Goodbye, my old friend," which doesn't make any sense because they were never friends. And even at his best, Godzilla was still a giant monster that destroyed cities and killed millions of people. And second of all, why does he have to detonate the nuke next to him? Like, isn't he an important scientist? Why can't you just get some expendable soldier to do it? Oh, whatever. Like I said earlier, we're all just here for the action, okay? And I will give credit where credit is due. The film is at its best when it's giving us just what we want. Just the monster on monster action, you know? Now, there are great shots of the monsters posing in this, which they do a lot in the movie, by the way. And it does look incredible and could very well be its own wallpaper or poster. And though at times the actual monsters seem to move a little too fast for their size, it does still capture the scale pretty well for the most part. The actual monster action in this, however, does come with some issues though. Like it has this habit of constantly shifting the perspective of the fight to the human point of view. Like we see Godzilla and King Ghidorah duking it out, and it's great, but it keeps cutting back to the humans trying to run away from them. And it doesn't do this in a way that feels natural, and it gets really annoying after a while. This kind of thing worked in films like Cloverfield because like you're supposed to be at ground zero witnessing all this chaos and destruction around you, but it doesn't work in this since the focus is supposed to be on Godzilla. And while the CGI and effects in this aren't bad by any means, like it's just difficult to be impressed by them just because of how desensitized we become to it. Not to say there aren't any cool moments in this. Like it's cool to see Godzilla, just go nuclear and melt the city around him. Like that was great. And I actually love the last shot of this movie in which like we see all the other Titans like bowing down to Godzilla. Like that felt epic right there. Like yes, this Godzilla right here. Besides moments like these, however, there isn't a whole lot else the film really excels at. Like a lot of the actors in this are just kind of one note, but I thought Millie Bobby Brown was actually pretty good in this, and Kyle Chandler seemed to give a really good emotional performance. And as far as this MonsterVerse or whatever goes, this is the second best film in the series behind Kong Skull Island, which I thoroughly enjoyed. For Godzilla fans, you get what you want, I guess, just see Godzilla fight some monsters, but for me, it was just more or less what I was expecting for the most part.